Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Stan,
Hello and greetings.
and we figured we'd do a video on this topic because this seems to be gripping the news everywhere. Can't get away from it. But the sad, unfortunate fact is that Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, Bruce Wayne, from the 90s cartoon and the Justice League cartoon, has passed on. He was in his 60s. He was apparently well beloved by a lot of people that he knew, and had become a bit of an icon because his Batman was fairly iconic. Now, no discussion can be had about him without discussing his voiceover role, which this is where it is fairly interesting that most discussions about men revolve around their careers in some way, shape, or form. And that's just the way it is. Men are typically very career driven. And Conroy obviously kind of was. And his career was a very, very fruitful one. He obviously made good on his voice, which he did have a good voice. His Bruce Wayne voice was very warm. When it came to doing Bruce, he always came off fairly warm. And though he did manage to give Bruce at times a colder side to him, which was good, and he also ended up nailing a certain element of just goodness, because his Bruce Wayne was the kind of man who looked out for Gotham and politicized for it and sacrificed for it and donated for it and tried to reconstruct Gotham's education, medicine, and other such fields and infrastructure in order to rebuild the city, which long-term wise, this would have a positive effect in any situation, because if you're giving that kind of money to all of the different fields Bruce Wayne was, from art to health to education to, even just labor and whatnot, you're going to see some results. But his Batman was an iconic one. I'm not going to lie, I actually think he did a better job in the Arkham games when he voiced Batman than he did in the original cartoon. And there is a slight difference between the two. His Arkham Batman voice was similar to the original, but you get a hint of Bruce Greenwood or Bale a little, or even Val Kilmer's Batman, which it adds to the effect of Batman being different from Bruce Wayne. And this was something that I think Conroy did struggle with throughout his time during the animated series. Up until that last season, and in the Superman crossover episodes, Bruce is a little colder in some ways, same as in the Justice League series, so it works slightly better. But on the other hand, there is no difference between his Bruce Wayne and Batman, so that anyone who heard the Batman speak would know that this is Bruce Wayne. So in that regard, it wasn't as well done. But if you look at, so in all, his Batman voice was good, but in some ways, I find Bruce Greenwood, who did the voice of Batman for the Under the Red Hood movie, was better. That said, Conroy had a longer career with Batman. So obviously he's going to get really great works. Like, you look at Mask of the Phantasm. In there, it is a Bat epic. And Conroy does such a great job with the role. And you look at the animated series, I can't help but find the series did not measure up to the actor, so to speak, because it eventually became Joker, the animated series, because Joker got more screen time, got more episodes than Batman, and in that regard, Conroy got shafted massively. But if you look at the DC animated movies that came out in the early 2000s, where there was a lot of Bat stuff, we got to see Conroy come into his own. We got to see him really shine, and we got to see him kind of explore Batman. And he also did a good job in the Justice League animated series, obviously, and he got to explore different aspects of the Batman character, which people really seem to take to. So I guess my opinion is he was kind of he needed a bit of a running start at the beginning, but on the other hand, once he got started, he became really good. That aside, he got shafted by really, really bad scripts in the 90s cartoon where they almost golden aged him, or by that I mean like you got the Adam West Batman almost treatment, or you just have the character thrown out for Joker because the writers and the producers very obviously preferred Joker as a character and thought he was more fun. And they didn't think there was as much stuff they could do with Batman. When I would argue it was the opposite. You could do a lot with Batman. He is a good character. But then, but the direction they then took Batman in after the animated series, where they oversaturated to an extent the market with a lot of animated series and cartoons and whatnot, I actually think was a good thing, because we got to see Conroy, like I said, come into his own. He didn't have to deal with the script just going, okay, what am I? Oh, I'm just to say, ha, you suck, Joker. Okay. And then that's it. No, he got all the lines. And you look at the Justice League cartoon, you look at the various animated movies, there was preferential treatment given to Conroy in his Batman. So that was good.
One thing that I actually liked is that as time passed, he really improved as Batman because he got more experience, more practice.
Yep.
He got to know the character, and he set a really high bar.
Because like his Bruce Wayne, no one's been able to do Bruce Wayne like him. Well, in terms of live action, we've got maybe Bale and Val Kilmer who did a great job. But in the animated sphere, no one ever did as good a job with Bruce Wayne. Period. But then and there's also the DC universe, I think, online game, which I think that's actually Conroy, and he did a great job there. As if Conroy could do a bad job. But like I just love him in, I think, Arkham City. It is like in that game. I don't play the game anymore, but I remember just going, "Wow, what a great job! What a great job, man!" Like, you really knocked it out of the ballpark, and a lot more than anywhere else. Like, almost no one could have done that job.
He introduced
An entire generation to Batman.
And the DC animated cartoons.
Oh, yeah, he was the guy who basically, I guess you could say, spearheaded the cartoon in a way, in terms of voice actors. His voice was Batman to a lot of people. And I think we're going to get a lot of people diving down our throats for some of our criticism of Conroy, because a lot of people are going to feel you have to do nothing but praise the man and worship him and talk about how perfect he was. But the thing is, that's very dishonest, and I actually think that's actually not doing him any favors or any credit, and that criticism is the greatest show of love and affection one can demonstrate. And that to express something like, oh, he was perfect, that's mindless, and that's, I'm going to be quite honest, that's disrespectful in a way, because you're not truly appreciating the full growth he showed. Because I think that with his Batman, it was more of the journey rather than the end. He didn't start off perfect. In those first few episodes, his Bruce Wayne is better than his Batman. His Batman's very rough. And in that first season, it is, there are times when it's shaky. Like you hear his Batman, you go, Bruce Wayne. Or you hear his Bruce Wayne and you go, oh, Batman. But then you get to the 2000s with Justice League, with, the Arkham games, with the Batman animated movies, or the world's finest animated movies. And you get a pretty perfect job there, but it was a journey. It was a work in progress, is my point.
I can't help but think of the invasion of the Thanagarians, when you have difference between how Batman, when he says Wally West, Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne, and then later when he's as Bruce Wayne with Diana in the pub, his voice is a lot bit more playful.
Yeah, he did a good job there. He did, and he's he was quite good there. I don't think there's any other Batman that got that kind of script, except maybe Bale to an extent. Well, Kilmer got a few scenes like that, but Bale did a great job with that kind of shift in the character, in Batman Begins at least. I don't think he really got to show that much of a shift in the character to an extent, except in one or two scenes in Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. For example, like when he ends up playing the moron in front of Gordon after after driving his car in the way of another guy trying to kill the one ex-Wayne executive employee. And then Bruce, without any of the police noticing, gives the guy a look that tells him, "Shut up, don't you dare reveal my identity." And the guy, and it's like, "You better be grateful I saved your life." And the guy goes, "Okay." Like, you could see him just cowed. So, but here's the thing. With his voice, Conroy could convey quite a bit like that. On the other hand, like I said, just the animated cartoon, it was rough work there. And he didn't start off great. He started off mediocre. And then he worked his way to great. So, but the thing is, there's a huge surge in grief right now over the voice actor, because the character of Batman from the 90s and the 2000s truly meant a lot to people. And the thing is, I think the best way to appreciate Conroy's work is to look at it as a journey. On the other hand, because he was an artist, like, you know what I mean? And to just look at, for example, Van Gogh's first painting and say, perfection! Without looking at how, it was in the first one and then the last one, and go, and say, oh, there was a journey. Or to listen to Beethoven's first sonatas, and then to listen to the Hammerklavier or the Missa Solemnis or the Ninth Symphony, you see the journey. You see, Beethoven it was not just he was instantly perfect. Oh, he was quite great, but it was a work in progress over the course of probably like 50 to 60 years. So I kind of look at Conroy's Batman that way. It's a work in progress. And you could see him kind of experimenting with different approaches to the character, every depiction. And so he slowly wove together his Batman. And that's really the beauty of it. But the other thing is, he got more opportunity to do that. And let's also give him some credit. He was willing to constantly come back to the role, to continue working on that grand painting of Batman. Most other actors were not willing to make the comeback to the character. You look at, for example, the various Batman actors from the 80s and, from the 90s. You look at Keaton, you look at Kilmer, at George Clooney. They didn't make the return. Well, Keaton returned for one movie, but they didn't return very often. And you had Bale, who made the return twice, so he got the chance to kind of do that sort of thing. Bruce Greenwood came in for Under the Red Hood, and then came back for Young Justice, but I kind of feel like with Young Justice, he didn't get the time to shine like he should have. And that, then again, I don't have the best opinion of Young Justice, so I don't think anyone shined there. But that's my opinion. Dan, you really loved it.
I enjoyed the first two seasons. After that, I kind of dropped off.
That said, Bruce Greenwood, I think, would do great with his own cartoon.
I agree. I was just going to comment that.
Yeah, I think he'd do a great job. But I wonder if Greenwood would be willing to invest almost 20 years into the character, like Conroy did. Conroy did, like, you look at his filmography, it's nothing but Batman. And, some might go, oh my gosh, did he have no other talent, or did he not do this? Well, maybe he did have the talent, but maybe he just saw it as, I want one masterpiece. I want to do it like this. We don't know, because we're not him, and we're not in his head. But his Batman showed improvement, showed work. And that's the best thing about an artist, is the work in progress, the journey. When you see the journey, it makes the final product even more excellent and magnificent.
Those are some big shoes he left Greenwood.
Yeah, and all other future Batman. And the thing is, while he was Batman, we got some good Batman, we got some terrible ones. He got some bad scripts, Conroy. He also got some good ones, like you look at Sub-Zero.
Oh, that's a beautiful movie.
Yeah, you look at Mask of the Phantasm. Now, Mask of the Phantasm was near the start of his career, same with Sub-Zero, and he did work hard and knocked it out of the ballpark, forecasting the later career he would have in Arkham and the DC animated movies and whatnot. There were times he did participate in some really bad Batman shows. Batman Beyond, the Bat show, which shall not be named, as I also like to call it, because it was, oh gosh. But he was always the bright spot in that thing. But
he showed that he can play an older Bruce Wayne.
It's just, if only he got a good script, rather than whatever the heck Bruce Timm was shoving down his throat in front of him. Now, I criticized Bruce Timm there. Bruce Timm has done some good for Batman, but some of his ideas have been weird. But Batman Beyond being one of them. And thankfully we got the Justice League cartoon, which pretty much retconned that stuff out. And, we got another almost Batman cartoon in there, where that was, later in the career, and we got to see just how good Conroy can get. So, as to Conroy himself, apparently he was dearly loved, and at the conventions people really liked him, so obviously he appreciated the fan base he had. And, well, for a time he truly was the night. But I also think that for a lot of people, he was also the day.
He was a Batman that wanted to bring forth a bright day next day.
Yep. So if you enjoyed this video, do feel free to like and subscribe. But more than that, maybe watch the Batman cartoon or any of the Conroy's filmography, and just go back to that happy childhood place, if even for just like an hour and a half. And wherever Conroy is, let's hope he's looking down on people with that big grin on his face, and knowing that people are appreciating the great work he did.